Okay, welcome back. So this is very early. I know we're only just in phase 4. Zul'Gurub's only just been released, but I want to always be looking forward, so you can get the resources you need for raids early. So I've done a Zul'Gurub 20. Don't know why I'm saying 20. Obviously 20. So I've done a Zul'Gurub guide a couple of months ago, ready for when Zul'Gurub went out. Done quite well. Mixed opinions. Even I was a bit hesitant about putting it out. Wasn't a great fan of the format. Quite liked it, but it just wasn't flashy enough for my liking. So I'm hoping that this AQ21 is going to be a step up from the Zul'Gurub one, and then I'm hoping the AQ41 will be a step up from the AQ21, and then Naxx even better than that. Obviously, I'm learning as I go along. You know, obviously it's a fairly new channel. I'm gradually getting better equipment, better skills, you know, better software, all this sort of thing. So production quality will go up over time. Just, you know, bear with it. Hopefully the content's there, even if the production value is not there yet, but it will get there with your support, obviously. So let's keep the channel growing, and I hope you like the AQ guide. Every single boss in AQ20 in less than 30 seconds. Let's go.
So you need 2 tanks for this. Have 1 tank in the boss, keeping it faced away from the raid because it does a cleave. Do a tank switch when the main tank gets 3 to 5 stacks of mortal wounds and keep rotating this. There'll be sand traps that spawn near the feet of DPS. If there's one near you, just simply move out of it. It will reduce your chance to hit, and it will silence you also. You can randomly get teleported to the boss. If you get teleported to the boss, just move back into position. A wave of ads will spawn. Range DPS, just nuke them down, and at 30% it will enrage. So finish it as quick as you can. Save your cooldowns for this preferably. Loot the boss and move on. Firstly, there's 5 friendly NPCs. Healers keep these alive as it will help trivialise the fight. There are 7 waves before the boss. Pause now if you want to look at the waves. Sheep the captains as soon as they spawn, or gather everything up and AoE down, which I suspect will be a perfectly viable strategy in the current state of the game. You can keep 1 warrior alive at the end of each wave if you want your healers to get mana, as each wave is 3 minutes long or when the last mob dies. The boss himself is easy, just nuke fast, watch for it as a tank gets disarmed and kill it before Thunder Crash kills you. Thunder Crash removes 50% of your health each time it hits and does a knockback, so preferably keep your backs against walls. Okay, so it's a very simple fight. Don't let him get to 100% mana. How do you do this? You have your priests, hunters and warlocks mana draining throughout the entire fight. Even back in vanilla, guilds were killing this before phase 2, but I'll tell you what phase 2 is anyway. So at the 90-second mark, he spawns 3 mana fiends. You can banish all 3 if you've got the warlocks to do so and focus the boss when he's attackable, or you can banish as many as you can and finish whatever's left. This will most likely be comparable to the submerged phase of Ragnaros, which you rarely see because the DPS nowadays is just far too high. If he does hit 100% mana, he'll do Arcane Eruption and most likely wipe you, or at least make life very difficult for the healers for the rest of the fight. Destroy an egg to start the fight. There's several eggs spread around in a circle. The boss will target a random person who will need to kite the boss over an egg. As the boss is on the egg needs to be destroyed, so focus on getting the eggs in front of the kiter to around 10% ready to blow up. These will do around 5% damage each time to the boss. Dots should be maintained on the boss, but he takes massive reduced damage until you get into phase 2, so all DPS should be focused on the ad that spawns each time an egg is destroyed. At 20%, he becomes vulnerable to damage and it's time to use your cooldowns. It's a race to kill him before Creeping Plague kills you. Blow him up fast. In the first phase, the boss will be flying in the air and only ranged can hit it. Ideally, you want 1 to 2 decent nature resist geared hunters or mages range tanking the boss, as it gives a stacking poison dot you'll want to swap between 2 people. All melee should be at the altar waiting for someone to get sacrificed. When this happens, 2 small lavas spawn and must be killed before they reach the altar, or they spawn a nastier ad which you don't want. During the whole fight you get swarmers spawn. These can be AoE down with ease. There's also constant raid wide damage in the form of stinger spray, just heal through this. Phase 2 is exactly the same as phase 1, but now you're on the floor, so melee can go between the boss and the lavas. Okay, this one will be slightly longer than 30 seconds as there's two strategies to handle the main mechanic of the fight. Firstly, there's crystals around the room which you have to use while the boss is in rage of it to keep him debuffed and to stop him doing extra damage and ultimately becoming supreme and wiping the raid. This also increases the damage to one school of magic by 100%, so warlocks and mages should be pulling massive numbers here. The first way is to simply have a scout finding the crystals and pinging the map, and then the tank will pull the boss from crystal to crystal. Another way is to have 2 to 3 melee all running around the outside of the room, spam clicking on any crystals they can find as quick as possible. This will then force new crystals to spawn in and near the middle of the room to minimise movement from the rest of the raid. The DPS should be coming from the range, so this in my opinion is the best way to go. Other than that, the tank can get stunned, so use FAPs wisely. Have your off-tank fighting for threat because he's immune to taunt, so if your main tank does get stunned, the off-tank will pick it up. He also does a knockback, but most melee will be busy with the crystals, and tanks can intercept or charge back in to minimise the raid movement. Everybody needs to avoid tornadoes going around the room, and mages and druids need to decurse the Curse of Tongues as soon as possible to keep the DPS at its max to shorten this fight.